Hey everyone, this is Austin Schur here with We Write About Music, and today I am speaking with Stephen Thad. He has just released a fantastic new EP called Pop Man, and I'm super excited to talk to him all about it. Stephen, I want to sincerely thank you so much for coming on today. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me. I've been following you guys on Instagram, looking at all the cool musicians that you
That's
guys
awesome.
interview.
That
Yeah.
means a lot. I mean, that's what we're about. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do this. All good music deserves to be talked about, and Pop Man is pretty much the definition of good music. So you've got something special on your hands here.
Thank you
Um,
so much.
as I mentioned
Thank
before,
you.
you're very welcome. As I mentioned before we started recording, was I really had this thing on nonstop, and the more I listen to it, the more subtleties I find, and real like attention to detail. And the thing that I want to hear from you is because I can interpret it one way listening to the lyrics and making up my own stories, but I really want to hear from you. What is it all about? What inspired you making this?
Yeah, so Pop Man is actually a follow-up to my first album. I didn't even realize I released an album. I thought it was an EP. So the the first album I released was called The Rock Boy. And so
Okay.
I did sort of like mainstream rock songs like Since You've Been Gone, This Love by Maroon 5, like, and I had covered a lot of songs as well as wrote some original songs that were kind of in that vein.
Gotcha.
And so Pop Man is the follow-up to that album, but on the more mainstream pop side. So we've
Sure.
got like Olivia covers from Olivia Rodrigo, Michael Bublé, Beyonce,
Right.
and I've got an original on Pop Man as well called Husband Material. That's I think number one. Yeah,
Yeah,
number
yeah,
one
yeah,
on the
yeah.
yeah.
No, that's awesome. And I mean, that's the hardest part about covers is you're always told, okay, well, obviously it has to sound like the original, but it has to put some originality in it. You can't just do it word for word. And I think that you've actually really done a great job of bordering the line of bringing new life to these songs that people already love, which is a difficult thing in its own. How did you decide to go with these songs over whichever one you did go with?
Yeah, so it was hard to pick because there's so many great songs out there. I know for as far as the Beyonce song goes, I'm a huge Beyonce fan. I'm so
Really?
happy she dropped a new song because the
Perfect
fans have been
timing too.
waiting. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly,
seriously.
exactly. But I chose Irreplaceable because Irreplaceable kind of deals with picking yourself back up after a heartbreak or after a breakup. And I've gone through a situation that's similar to that in particular. And I just love how it's so easy to sing along to that song. And I think
Right.
there's a part in the beginning of that song where I ask like the audience to sing with me, which is something that I tend to do a lot when I go out and perform places. I
Sure.
always like to include the audience. Yeah. So I loved that song. And that's why I chose that one. As far as driver's license goes, I actually am a huge Olivia Rodrigo fan
Sure.
as well. And so I was trying to figure out which song from Sour I was going to cover. I wasn't exactly sure. I was tossed up between Good for You. I think Deja Vu was another one I was considering, but I actually heard her sing Driver's License at the Grammys.
Oh,
And when I
nice.
heard that, literally the next day, I was like, okay, I'm definitely going to cover this song. And
You
I
made
started
my
working on the
decision.
instrument. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that, man. So, all in all, how long do you think it took you to put together this EP?
That's a good question too. So I usually start with I do everything myself, which
Yeah, that was
eventually
a follow-up question I was going to have was, and you can please get into it, but I assume obviously, you've got creative control. Are you putting together the loose ends on the production and the mixing? Like, I want to hear it all.
yeah, so I start with the instrumentals on a software called Reason. I use Reason 11 to do all of the instrumentals that I
Okay.
have. And so once I finish all of the instrumentals, then I start recording. I record on Logic.
Oh, nice.
And
All right.
yeah, Logic it's really nice because I started off in GarageBand and Logic is pretty much just a minor step up above GarageBand. So it's easy to
Totally.
integrate.
Mhm.
And I record all the vocals, I do the background vocals and I do the leads. And then I add auto tune, I pan, I mix, and I master all through Logic.
That's wild. I mean, I talk about this often, but usually having a producer is like having the other half of your brain. it's someone to be there to tie up those loose ends I'm talking about, and it's really someone to like get you. But no one gets you better than yourself. So if you're the one that can figure it out, I say keep going on it. It also gives you the creative freedom to do whatever you want in the future.
Exactly. And that's what I love about it. I really can sing whatever cover I want, however I want. I can
Yeah.
write whatever I want. Yeah. It's
No,
really
you don't
nice.
have to wait. It's nice not having to wait on people. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
The song is great, but it's gonna be 6 months so we can get someone in there. You're like, no, it needs to come out now. Like, no one's
Right.
gonna care in 6 months. Like, it needs
Right.
to go. Do you have any plans to like experiment in genres? Obviously, a lot of music is based in pop, but I think there's a real versatility about your sound and what you're able to do. So, any plans to do that in the future?
Absolutely. So actually my next project is going to be R&B. I was kind of saving R&B for last because R&B is a genre that I know the best. I actually grew
Sure.
up in church, so gospel is really the genre that I know the best. But
There
R&B
you
was
go.
always an extension, yeah, of gospel. So I do plan to do that. But even after that, I just plan on like, and you're so right. Pop music, even pop music, has been expanding upon like the genres that it dips into with like Tyler the Creator and Pharrell. And so just, following that vein of going for whatever I think is interesting at the time and not necessarily limiting myself to a particular genre. It's kind of how I want to move forward. Yeah.
No, it's a real thing. I mean, it's another thing I say often, but it's just true. Is pop music isn't just pop music anymore. I feel like every pop song has R&B elements to it, and that kind of just shows the future of production and where we're headed. And it's also about like on your end capturing audiences. If you're just making straight up mainstream radio pop hits, then you can only get that amount of people that are going to listen and enjoy. But add a sweet rock solo in there, then you've opened yourself up to so many more people. And I think especially for someone that's starting to really make a name for themselves, you need to keep yourself open to experimentation and trying new things, even maybe collaborations. But it's really it's a wide world out there, and there's no right answers. So that's the hard.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Totally
Absolutely.
get it, man. So how long have you been making music for as a whole? Sounds like you've
So
been involved in music for a while, at least.
yes. So I actually started singing with my sisters. I come from a very musical family. And so my sisters and I, when we were young, we would always sing in 3-part harmony and a cappella. And
There
so
you
when our
go.
parents first heard us do that, yeah. When our parents first heard us do that for the first time, they were like, okay, you guys have to be singing because you guys have a gift and we want to make sure that you are aware of your gift and you know how to use your gift, like if you want to do that in the future. And so they were always nurturing us and encouraging us to sing. I grew up in church, so we sung in church, we sung at other people's churches, and we still sing today. Actually, my sisters and I, we still have a group. It's called Trilogy.
Nice.
And we released an album in 2020, I think. That was the last album
Not
we
even
released.
that long ago.
I know. It wasn't that long. It wasn't that long ago. Yeah. And so since I got to college, I started really exploring what it meant to be an artist on my own because it wasn't something that I really considered. I loved singing with my sisters. I was like, I don't want to sing with anybody else. I definitely don't want to sing by myself.
Totally.
So I had to learn how to become comfortable in just using my voice for whatever I wanted to say. And that started in college and it sort of migrated through college till now.
Got it. I see that. So, I mean, and it leaves you up to so much more. I had no idea you were part of another group. I love that.
Yeah.
So, I do want to talk like a little bit more about your process and specifically on Husband Material because it is the original song on the record. And don't get me wrong, I love the covers, but I also love to hear an original where you came from. So I want to hear what that one might be about and how you kind of got it together and put the end cap on it.
Yeah, so it's funny because I started writing this particular song, I want to say the middle of last year. And so when I usually, it's been a while. So when I usually start, a chorus or a verse will pop into my head and I'll just record it on my phone in a voice note. But for whatever reason, this particular time, I finished the chorus and I was like, I don't like this song. I don't think I don't think I'm gonna like continue working on it further. Right. And then fast forward like 2 months, 3 months later, I just started revisiting it just to see like where the idea would go. And then I finished the chorus and then I finished verse 1 and verse 2. By the time that happened, I was like, oh wow, this is actually a pretty decent song. And so once I finished all of the verses, I had done the instrumentation for it, and then just
Okay.
actually recorded the vocals over top of the instrumentation, and that's how that came to be. But as far as like the topic of it is concerned, I was in a situation where, when you're young, and even myself, you have this ideal interpretation of the person that you will be with in the future. And
I
they have to
still do.
be, yeah,
That
people
never
still do.
stops.
Exactly. That
Yeah.
never stops. Very true. And so I was with someone who was like, I'm just looking for this particular person. They have to do this. They have to be this. They have to do all of these things. And then I thought to myself, well, I really genuinely loved that person. I don't know if she knew that or not, but I did love her. And then I created like this scenario where, what if the particular person that I was interested in was looking for all of these other things, but didn't realize that the love of their life was right next to them. They just didn't look like the person that they had envisioned themselves being with.
Yeah. I get
Yeah.
it. It's an
Yeah.
unfortunate thing, but it happens all too often. But I mean, on your end, at least from a musical end, there's nothing better than relatable music. There's nothing better than someone can tap in, listen to the words, and like, oh, I've been there. Like this was me, and they form a connection to you, even though they don't know you. And
Exactly.
being an artist of any kind, like it's one of the most vulnerable things that you can do, because if a song catches on and millions of people hear it, they're making those connections to you, but they have no idea who you are on a personal level. And it's like, well, gotta be one of the weirdest things I can imagine. So
I know. That's so true.
wild stuff. So I mean, now that you've been making music for quite a while, involved, is there a part of the process that you look forward to the most? Like the initial like thinking about what I'm gonna write about, or actually getting in the studio and figuring it out, or just being done with it, like the release.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. So honestly, I think let me think. I think the part that I most enjoy is probably coming up with the background vocals for the tracks. Yeah,
Nice.
I think I love that the most. I do love writing, and I do love arranging the instrumentation, but I think singing background vocals comes the most naturally to me. And so when I do that, I always feel so good after I finish. It's like, these sound so nice, and I can't wait for everyone to hear them.
That's awesome.
Yes.
No, it's got to be definitely a reward at the end, because then you feel like a scientist. Like, okay, if I added a little bit of this and a little bit of that,
Yes.
and it all come together.
Exactly. That's exactly how it is.
So we're recording this a day before July 1st, which is officially the halfway point of this year, which is crazy to even say that we're halfway done with this year. And normally at the beginning of the year, I'd ask, what does the next year of your life look like? But I guess the halfway point is also a great time to ask. In a perfect world, what would you like to happen? Or do you have any like legitimate plans for the next year from today?
Yeah, so I would love to do live shows for the music that I have coming out now. I've kind of been building up my repertoire so that I'll have things to perform.
No, that's one of the hardest parts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So once I drop this next R&B EP, I'll have a bunch of original material. So all of the songs on the new EP coming out, I want to say in like the next 2 months, and it's all going to be original songs.
Awesome.
So I'm looking forward to that. And so I'll probably find a band and get a band together, and we'll probably do like some YouTube videos. And I just love to do like a live show, or at least maybe 2 or 3 live shows, starting like in my home area and then like branching out by next year. That would be really fun.
That's awesome. And you said you're located in the East Coast, so you've got plenty of states and options to go to. I think that you can make it work. Venues are begging for people to come in at this point. So I say looking up, definitely looking up.
I'm looking forward to it for sure.
And on the other hand of things, obviously we cover independent music, but I want to know, what have you been listening to? Are there any local artists in your area that you could recommend? What's been on your playlist that you're really enjoying lately? What are you gonna turn some people on to some stuff?
That's great. No one's ever asked me this before.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for someone to ask me this. So actually, I've been listening to a lot of Usher recently, because I have this R&B. Yeah. So I've been listening to like 8701. What was the other one I listened to? Confessions. I've just
Nice.
been really in my Usher bag.
Still have that on CD.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
I do.
exactly,
I do.
exactly.
Wow. All right. Nice. Now,
Yeah.
do you find that the music that you're listening to, you mentioned it a little bit, but it has any direct impact on the music that you're making? And
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely,
I say that because a
absolutely.
lot of artists are like, I listen to metal, but I make classical music. And it's like, it might be a little close, but chances are it's not that close at all.
Yeah, that's a great question too. I know for sometimes when I don't even think about it, just listening to music and then I'll play something and be like, oh wow, this is definitely influenced by like something that I had listened to maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I think that's honestly a, that's a part of like just being a musician in general. We are inspired by, the work that other people do. And I think that does influence the way we approach songs and the way that we craft lyrics and things of that nature. So I pretty much listen to a lot of stuff. I listen to rock, I listen to pop, I'll listen to whatever's on the radio. I'll find like niche artists like Steve Lacy
Totally.
and yeah, that people might not know of. And I'll vibe out to pretty much anything because you can always learn from whatever you're listening to.
Never ending. Yeah, man. Like I think that the number was like 60,000 songs uploaded to Spotify per day. And it's like there's always something to discover. There's always something to find new. And you know what? You're just gonna keep doing what you're doing and keep making the music that you like. But it never hurts to have, I just listen to pop or I just listen to rock. Keep it wide and who knows, make something special.
Yes,
Yeah, man.
absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
Stephen, I've got one more question to ask you. And before I ask, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time. It's been a great conversation. Basically, the question is for the person that is going to discover you from this, and for the person that's going to listen to your music for the first time, what is an opening message that you'd like to say to them?
That's a great question. So I'd say this music is the music that I make is about freedom and just existing in a space where you can dance, you can jump up and down, you can scream the lyrics out.
Totally.
It's just about being free in a world that's very routine and very monotone at times. And it's easy to get stuck in the cycle of waking up, going to work, eating lunch, working out, going back to sleep.
Oh
But
yeah,
I think I would hope that my music offers listeners the ability to be free when they listen to it.
totally. I think that's a fantastic answer and a perfect wrapping up point. Stephen, I want to thank you so much again. I also want to plug your music for you, of course. The record is called Pop Man, and I can't recommend it enough. We're gonna have links so that people can listen and share and follow along and do all that fun stuff. But I'm really interested to see what you do next.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. I really appreciate you interviewing me.
You're very
I
welcome.
You're very, very kind. And I want to recommend your site, your page, whatever you have, and I'll make sure to post it on my socials as well
Oh
once this
man,
thing
I
goes live.
super appreciate it. Super appreciate
Yes.
it.
I love what you guys are doing. It's very important to the indie community. We need more people like you to just keep the connection strong
That
between
means a
all the
lot. It really
yeah,
does.
yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you so much again, and I hope to speak soon. And have an amazing rest of your day.
Awesome. You too. Thank you so much
You're very
again. I
welcome. Talk to you
appreciate
later.
you.
Bye bye.
Yes.